Hello and welcome to the TIE Innovator Webinar series. I'm Heidi Pickett, Chief Business Officer with the TIE, and I'm excited to be joined by Matt from Magic Eden Foundation, Efe from Trilitech supporting Tezos, and Spencer from onchain. And today we're going to be discussing how entertainment, whether it's collectibles, gaming, streaming, social distribution, and game-like market mechanics, can bring the next wave of users on chain. Just a quick reminder, the information contained in this webinar is for informational purposes only and not intended as investment advice. Okay, with that out of the way, let's jump in. Let's just do a quick round of introductions, introduce yourselves and your organization briefly. And Matt, maybe we kick it off with you.
Sure, thanks. Hi guys, I'm Matt. I am the director of ME Foundation, and we are the stewards of the protocols behind Magic Eden. And Magic Eden is a consumer entertainment product builder. And what that means is people know us as the builders who started with NFTs and built marketplaces across chains. And now our suite of products extends beyond NFTs into more speculation type products, token trading, and a lot of other things. And there's new products coming out by the end of Q1 that I'm super excited about, which this panel we'll get into.
Look forward to that. Efe?
Yeah, so my background is basically fully in gaming, in Web2 gaming. About 3 years ago, I joined the Tezos ecosystem for the first time. Today, I'm serving as the head of gaming. Basically, what we are doing is we are supporting mainly gaming initiatives that are happening in Tezos ecosystem. And at the same time, we are also building quite a few tooling and products ourselves to go to market with the idea and the dream of making Tezos best blockchain ever. So, yeah.
Great. And Spencer?
Yeah, so I'm Spencer, obviously. I am head of business development and new protocol integration for ApeCo and ApeChain. And, ApeChain is a chain that is very focused around entertainment, around NFTs, and around the other side, which is the metaverse that Eagle Labs has been building. So, yeah, excited to be here with you all.
I think it would be very helpful when institutions hear entertainment-driven crypto adoption. What does that actually mean in practice today? How do you distinguish real product market fit from like short-term speculation, and sort of how do you define this market and particularly your roles in entertainment crypto? And I open that up to all of you.
I guess I can go first. So I think you made a very good point. So I might have a bit of a controversial opinion here, but I think short-term speculation is a product market fit for the crypto audience. I think we need to, I guess, sort of accept that reality first. There are two. Obviously, this discussion is around mass adoption, right? So getting new people in to ecosystems like this. But if you're building for an existing crypto audience, and if your product has a level of speculation, that usually works in your favor as long as you're able to do it sustainably. So I think if you're building for crypto people, yes, then it can work in your way depending on how you're using it. But the other way around, I mean, you have speculation in a lot of various products today. It's just not crypto, I think. So I guess that's just an interesting way of thinking for me, at least when you're thinking around both the crypto audience and the people outside of the bubble.
But kind of going back to your introduction, when you're saying you're trying to make Tezos the best blockchain ever, I mean, that's not going to be, that's not happen just because of short-term speculation. So you must think about it a little bit more broadly in terms of longer-term market fit and such.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, blockchain work itself, I would say it's more boring, right? In the end, it's just an infrastructure to provide whatever experience you want to provide, whether it's a speculative experience or not. So in the end, again, the blockchain layer is simple. It needs to perform well. It needs to be cheap. It needs to be accessible. It needs to be full of developers, excited people building on it. That's it. Like, that's kind of the layer that would provide the rest of the products. That's the longevity, I think, of it. The rest is obviously, in order for this blockchain to stay alive and be the best, is just, and it's depends on developers and great products there for you.
Spencer, how do you think about this, and what is the state in terms of entertainment driven crypto?
Yeah, so for us, so much of it is about what's the next thing. And by that I mean, like, I think traditionally a number of years ago, when you started to have entertainment in crypto, particularly when you're talking about outside IPs, there were a lot of NFT launches, and then kind of nobody could figure out what to do next, right? And so when we think through it, it's like, okay, we want you to come and do something on ApeChain. Oftentimes that's going to start with an NFT drop, just because it is, and that's the easiest, lowest hanging fruit, to go after. But there has to be more to that, right? There should be an avatar in the other side of the metaverse. There should be wearables. There should be, let's figure out how to bring in the off-chain activities of your fans, of your concert goers on chain. Let's figure out, how can we bring in people to have a persistent experience, right? How can we connect you to other games and applications that are on ApeChain? And I think that if we can do that and kind of create that flywheel, and I think that there's a big roadmap there from what's happened in DeFi, right? Where protocols act together, the most powerful things create these loops, and being able to do that with entertainment, where you're not just siloed into one experience, but you're getting kind of the opportunity to really do a lot of different things at the same time with any individual asset. That's going to be kind of the key going forward.
Matt, do you want to join
Yeah.
this conversation? I mean, certainly your marketplace that you're well known for, but definitely moving into other areas.
No, for sure. And I'll build on what Spencer said is, I think users start out, or they're sort of forced to start out with one product that they naturally gravitate towards. And for us, when we launched in Solana in 21, it was just a Solana NFT trading marketplace and Launchpad. And that was basically the only thing that was available. And that, I think we got a lot of organic usage from that and initial product market fit. But then once a user is sort of gets their fix of this really fun thing to do on chain, they start to look elsewhere for entertainment or for ways to spend their time. And how could you tell what the difference between that and just is it just driven by incentives? Well, one, you sort of look at what like the user is doing across their life cycle and their entire journey, and if you just follow the user throughout the years, even they end up doing a lot more things on chain. And it's definitely hard to follow a user in just one app. But if your app has not only NFT trading, but it has other fun, entertaining things and products and on-chain experiences, then you could actually follow a user's journey and see that they spend a lot more time than they initially did. And so that's what we're seeing with some of our users that are now across different chains. And when they first started, maybe we went after crypto natives, but now our tools are a little more user-friendly and more normie-friendly. And the experiences look just like your typical sort of fun gaming experience that you download from the iOS App Store. And I think my perspective on entertainment-driven crypto adoption, I think entertainment as a use case is not going away. It's not like a tool necessarily that we like to use to just bring people on chain and then like just use that as a carrot. It's actually sort of means to an end itself, like what Efe was saying. That is the product. Entertainment is actually the utility, and that is the thing that we are building. And one stat I like to look at, point to, for folks not to forget, is if you look at the iOS App Store, like more than half of the revenues of the entire App Store come from gaming and entertainment apps. And it's, you sort of forget that actually people, want time away from their daily things and their life, and they just want to download an app and have fun. And so that's the sort of app ecosystem that we're building. And I think, yeah, like entertainment in and of itself is actually the product. So it's just about making the most fun product that you can, and that brings users the most thrill and sort of dopamine hits that they can handle.
And FA, maybe you can talk a little bit about how you measure the user journey, and when you think about onboarding and wallet patterns for working in production for gaming, what trade-offs should institutions, and it's probably more of the consumers, understand between UX and security and other factors that come into play?
Yeah, of course. So again, I think in order to answer this, I will still have two different perspectives here. As you can probably tell from sort of my current opinions, let's say we are lately focused more on the existing crypto audience and building products for them. And when that's the scenario, obviously friction is not even a question, because they're already using crypto, they're already deep in the trenches, whatever you want to call it. So then it's quite easy. But then there's obviously the other side of the world where you are trying to teach new people how to use your product. So at that point, a few things come into play. Again, I think how you would approach it would change from product to product, but let's all imagine that we are building a casual mobile game, a mesh-3 game like Candy Crush, right? Something like that. The first question would be, okay, how are these users going to use the crypto, and why is the game using crypto? So if the game is using it as a reward distribution layer, then quite potentially you can just plug it in with something like Third Web, where you can create wallets for the users, where it's not that fully decentralized experience, and you just distribute the rewards that way. And then once they have the rewards, then you can just have pop-ups or guides on how to turn it to, I don't know, fiat money or exchange with Amazon gift cards, blah blah blah, right? So this is quite like I guess a segmented, a diluted experience, right? But again, it depends on the user type. But on the other side, let's say you are building a speculation product like Polymarket, but I don't know, focused on gossips in a university college, something like that. I don't know, random. And your expectation is just these Gen Z people just joining in, and it would be very crypto heavy. You would buy and sell tokens of different gossips that are going on, let's say. Then obviously you would need to have a much more deeper experience. And at that point, maybe creating wallets for them is not a good idea, because then it's not that secure. Legally, you should be more protective. And they might want to be more protective in the future as well, right? So then the whole experience just changes. Then it's more about, okay, you're going to provide a wallet, make sure you have a good onboarding on, hey, you can create a wallet here, this is how you use it, this is what you buy, this is why you sell, this is how you use the platform. But then you also need to offer, okay, this is how you get crypto, this is how you can interact with it. You need to get some USDC, and this is where you can get it. Hey, you can also get it with your credit card, yada yada, and so forth, right? So again, I think the level of abstraction should change depending on the product that you are building. That's how we approach it, and I think that's the best way that it would work. Just if you know your audience, and if it's very clear why you need the blockchain in your app, then the rest feels quite natural. I mean, like, setting that stone, setting that path towards, becoming an actual user, it just becomes very clear if you know your audience well and your product well.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody wanted to add on to that. Very good. Spencer, and anyone really, but when you think about the difference between entertainment chains and DeFi only stacks, I mean, what are the primary differences in terms of like failure modes and things you think about from like a risk management perspective? And if you're trying to get institutional awareness around Ape Chain, what are you telling them? What are you convincing them on that front?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of parts of it. One is making sure that we have the infrastructural tooling that institutions need, even though it's not a DeFi heavy chain, right? Whether that be certain custodial wallets, et cetera, et cetera. I think that also making sure that there's kind of the access to liquidity on partner chains, right? Something that we've been very focused on is that, we are very cross-chain. Even though we're on Ape Chain, that's part of Arbitrum, we're very close with Solana, Binance, a lot of other chains as well. I think that in terms of the things that are important for institutions and for not just institutions, but corporate partners generally, are uptime, and making sure that that's something that we're consistently, thinking about and on, and, reducing fee spikes as much as possible, right? Ape Chain has flat fees. It doesn't matter how much use we get, right? The fees stay what the fees are. And I think that that's something that has sunk a lot of entertainment and game experiences on chains that aren't built for that, right? Where you have massive fee spikes that really degrade the user experience. I think that some of that is getting better, obviously, with things that Ethereum is doing, on Solana, obviously, that's not always as much of an issue, but it is something that we need to think about pretty consistently, because those are the biggest risks, right? It's access at the end of the day. All of the safety, issues around DeFi, they all obviously do apply. But at the same time, the difference is that we're not dealing with protocols where there's a ton of LPs sitting in there, right? And contract risk from that perspective. It's much more about uptime, access, knowing that you can bridge out and bridge in safely, and kind of looking at things that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Matt, how do you approach safeguards for chance-based and social collectible experience?
Yeah, I think it's two things, because one, I'll just give a broad answer on how we're positioned and why it works for us. And the reason, the sort of broad, high-level reason, is Magic Eden has been a trusted brand for a while now, and we've been a crypto builder, and product builder for years. And if you look at, for example, crypto casinos in the space, some of them are very anonymous, and they don't necessarily build provably fair technology, and it's sort of like a black box, and you don't really trust these institutions with your money and your crypto. So I think that's one, and I think that actually is a pretty important piece of it. And one, I think you have to establish that with users up front. Otherwise, it's sort of like they're just going to skip over you, and that's number one. And so I see that as sort of like one structural advantage, is just being in the space for a while. And the founders of Magic Eden are all doxed. The entire team is public. It's not, we don't operate in the shadows, and that's great. So that's one. And then two, I think, is actually building all these things, all these safeguards that we mentioned here. Provable fairness, which I think Oliver docs, and I'll pick an example of a product called Lucky Buy, which relies on random number verification, and it's all open source, and people can build on top of it. That's like number one. So you could actually look at the docs today and see that the chances of you getting the NFT, if you decide that you want a 20% chance of getting it, it's there, it's true, and it's all provably fair, and it's trustless. So that's number one. Disclosures, of course, like users like need a lot of these, and I think we're pretty forward about all sorts of products that we build, and of course we had disclosures, and we also, early in the days, we did things like anti-bot technology, because I think I'll use Launchpad as an example. from back in the day. I think a launch and a mint sometimes could have a lot of users come flocking to it if it's hot enough. And I think marketplaces and just general consumer products have these sort of big build-up events, and it doesn't have to be a launch pad, but the mechanics are sort of the same. And you see this across consumer tech all the time, and you see this across ticketing where it's like a concert drop, or you see this like a limited drop, and these products are just like botted to no end, and it's a pretty normal occurrence in just not just NFTs or not just consumer crypto, but it's also happens all across the internet. So I think there, to protect users, you sort of have to build in the backend infrastructure and anti-bot technology to be able to have provide a good user experience, and we have some of that stuff too. So I think it all starts with a trusted brand, number one, but then of course you have to sort of prove it by building all these great experiences on top, and all these protections for users.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to that, because I think that's all spot on, Matt. Provable fairness is such a great use case for blockchain, right? And I think that the most successful products, particularly ones that rely on chance in any capacity, are going to be the ones that embrace that. Ones that are using on-chain RNGs, ones that are doing everything in terms of indexing. All of it should be on-chain, because that's a differentiator, right? That's what makes it different playing there than playing with whatever random shady site you're finding in Web 2, or that's sort of like Web 2.5 on the internet. I really, really do agree that that's just super key.
Effie, turning this over to you, what do studios need for Web 2 feel at scale? And what gaps still block mainstream rollout? I feel like people have been talking about gaming and blockchain for quite a few years now, but we haven't seen the adoption that we had expected. Where do you see that? And are we kind of where we think we should be, or what does that look like for you?
Do you want my honest opinion? I think all of you would want my honest opinion, right? Let's put it all out. Here's how I see it, guys. I think I don't think there's anything missing in terms of the infrastructure itself. I think the point that we are at with the technology today, in terms of, again, purely speaking of user experience, right? I'm sure ApeChain, Magic Hidden, all of them, most of the products today have great account creation experiences, great onboarding. They have a level of on-ramp, off-ramp providers. For example, ApeChain's websites are literally one of the most beautiful websites I've ever seen, by the way. I was just checking some of the apps and stuff. I was like, wow, literally. So I don't think there is a gap infrastructure-wise. And I also don't think people don't know about crypto in general. Even my grandma, maybe it's because I'm Turkish, but even my grandma knows about Bitcoin right now. At least, right, as a starter. So I think friction is not that high anymore. The main problem is because of how extractive a lot of Web3 game studios acted. It's just, first of all, there's still this huge prejudice, and I think it's rightfully so. By the way, I'm a huge gamer. I can't remember the last time I played a Web3 game. I'm just gonna be super honest here. So with that being said, I think 95% of the game are using crypto as mainly unfortunately an extraction layer, or a lot of games don't actually need it, or a lot of players don't actually care if no one else can touch their items or their NFTs or their tokens. They're just happy trading their stuff on Steam Marketplace, even though Steam gets a huge cut and they can get banned tomorrow and lose everything. They don't really care because they love Steam, because they love Gabe, the founder of Steam, right? So I think there's something that we sort of need to realize first. And again, it's the importance. It's what Matt mentioned, actually. People fell in love with Steam and their ecosystem. Steam is one of the most capitalistic companies that you can ever imagine, and they are making loads of money every year. as a behemoth in the gaming industry, and everyone, or most of their community, still loves them. And the answer is their product is nice, they are user friendly, they've been there forever, obviously, so there is a habitual experience there as well. But again, it's all coming through that product. So this doesn't mean that I don't believe that some of the Web3 games will succeed. I think they absolutely will. There will be good examples in the end, but it's just about how you really use the blockchain. I don't think all of the games need a token, or all of the games needs NFTs or trading. It's just when you don't think about this stuff from day one and you just try to slap some blockchain stuff because it's cool or because you can make a quick buck, it just doesn't work. Meanwhile, there are still sort of indie developers in the crypto space, like I don't know, like addicted.fun guys. Now they're building jail.fun. Like addicted.fun is pretty much, it's not even a game actually. It's just a trading simulator, Ponzi, something like that. But they did this very publicly. They went ahead with it. They had high amounts of players, but not as high as Web2 games, right? But in the end, they made millions in fees in a few weeks, and people loved it. Now they're building a sequel. So these things happen. I think, again, I feel like I might be repeating myself here, or maybe it's too much. But again, I feel like it's really knowing about why do you need the blockchain, first of all, why your users need it, and what your product is. I think it's all dependent on that, really. Other than that, I'm really happy with where the technology is at today in terms of speed, cost, usage, tons of SDKs available today, MCPs. It's just the tech is in a great state today. It's just about finding the right products, I guess.
Matt, Spencer, I'd love to get your take on this.
Yeah, my thoughts around this is kind of what I'll say is, I think you actually don't really need the blockchain to build a good product. I'll say that, and try to be a little spicy. You actually need to be focused on building a good product first, and then think about what the blockchain unlocks, like from an infrastructure perspective. And I think that's actually the big unlock over a long period of time. And I think that's how we're thinking about it. When we first started, like years ago, we're like, now we got to build, everything on top of this chain. And NFT trading, if you think about it as a product experience, is kind of janky. You kind of have to like onboard, and you have to have a wallet, and you have to have all these things. And yeah, finally you buy the NFT and you just want the NFT price to go up, and that's sort of the game you're playing. But that's sort of like a multi-step process and kind of janky, and a user will fall sort of away in all the steps throughout that process if they they're not already stopping at like, hey, what's a wallet? So you already have like a lot of barriers to build this experience, and only the really, really, really dedicated folks will sort of go in and try it out. And I think over the years, as we built more products that leverage the chain, it's like we sort of moved away from putting the chain up front and center, to the point where now Magic Eden is building and incubating an entirely separate brand, entirely separate product, that is very much a casino product, an entertainment forward product, and that has speculation at the sort of front of the product. And that product, from what I could tell, is not putting the blockchain up front and center, because it's we've learned over the years that actually is not necessarily what users want. Like first, they want a really interesting and fun experience first. And that requires actually centralizing lots of the experience and controlling it, and being able to deliver something that's good, fast, and fun, most important. And that's just product building. You don't like, on your way to deliver something great that's lasting and creates value for both the user and the platform, you're not going to try to solve for like the blockchain is one of your things, if it doesn't make any sense, and if it actually impedes your user from staying. But the second part of this is the actual unlock, which the things that the blockchain does unlock at the infrastructure level is actually more interesting than just building like a centralized casino. And what I mean is, if you actually put a lot of these things that people are mad at casinos about, which is, hey, casinos, they just basically sit there and take the house edge. You could actually, create that technology and infrastructure and put it out there and give people the ability to be the house and give them the entire edge, and just have them, for example, pool their capital in some protocol that essentially acts as a casino for them. That's actually a huge unlock, because you're essentially decentralizing what that experience could be like. And I think that's where we're moving towards, and that's this type of stuff that we're building. My thoughts on all this, having seen like the wave of users come rush in and use the chain and sort of be upset about it and not happy and not excited about it, to be honest, is I think we have to solve for building fun user experiences first, and that's sort of how we're thinking about it, and then unlock a lot of protocol level innovation. And that's actually how you build a more durable business over time. And that's actually how you unlock more creator friendly use cases. That's how you unlock a lot more usage from folks over time. You sort of let them play against each other, like leverage the tech that we built and have them have their own fun with it. I think that's the world where we're going. So those are my thoughts. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a ramble, Heidi.
No, all good, all good. Spencer, I don't know if you have a different take on this conversation.
My take's very similar. It has to be fun, right? It has to be fun. It can't just feel like I'm building something that's nominally a game and it's just crypto. I mean, it can be, right? But then it doesn't drive things forward. I agree with what Matt was just saying. We actually have a protocol called Ape Church on Ape Chain, which is casino style mini games. It allows you to be the house, and that's been proven to be very, very popular with folks. Being able to be on both sides of things. I think that that's already a proven model that we've seen from perpetual markets as well, and being able to bring that over to gaming in that way is a very clear and easy, not easy, but a very clear and obvious next step. But then, I think it has to be fun. I think that there's so much that's happening in traditional gaming right now, where as people start to unlock the Web3 portions of that, which isn't just putting items on chain as NFTs for the sake of doing it, but really being able to bridge that into the gameplay. We're seeing so much adoption, and I'm kind of outing myself as a gaming nerd here, but we're seeing so much adoption of, deck building games, of roguelike collectible games, in sort of the indie world right now. And those are picking up a lot of uptick on Steam, or Epic or wherever it may be. And there are ways that we need to start thinking about how can Web3 get plugged into this. We've seen folks like Parallel, TCG is kind of the classic example that I like to give of something that really does make sense as a game that has Web3 hooks in it. It's not necessarily fully Web3 forward, right? But the more things that we can do like that makes sense, right? I do think that the promise of the metaverse is still really there as well. Obviously, there was so much that was talked about when all that stuff kind of came to the fore in 2021, but the infrastructure and the technology wasn't there yet. Now it is, right? And so now just seeing all of that go forward, but just making sure that it's fun at the end of the day, because that's all that matters, right? It has to be fun. It has to be enjoyable. Something that's speculative. Speculation is one type of fun. And I think we should embrace that, right? I agree with what he said much earlier, but we can do more than that too.
And I would add in, it's got to be more simple than it has been in the past to participate, for sure. When you think about entertainment mechanics legally across jurisdictions, what product choices reduce regulatory risk? Is that something you even need to consider? Do you find that what you're building and focusing on is better suited for the US or outside of the US, or how do you approach this?
Oh, great question. Can try not to get in trouble from our lawyers here, but I think the short answer is there are regimes across the world that have very, very advanced like regulatory posture on gambling type products, speculation type sort of products, and they're sort of clamped down. And being a on-chain protocol builder and being like a Web3 company, we are not going to go super head first into these markets because they're so regulatory constrained, and we're building globally. What that means is there are best practice ways to sort of obtain like the right sort of licensing that gets you access to essentially most of the world, like let's say like a very advanced market like the US, very advanced market, like Canada, parts of Canada, I think. I'm not the expert here on which markets are sort of the ones to watch out for, but you can still build a very big lasting product outside the US is what I'll say. Now I'll say that and hope that, in the next few years, like the regulatory stance of the US changes for these types of products. And I think one thing that's sort of pushing that forward is prediction markets. And, I think everything that's happening with the CFTC and their ability to have oversight over prediction markets and be friendly towards that type of technology that's more open. But I think it's also like you kind of have to be sensible about it. It's like what are prediction markets? Well, prediction markets are sort of like this product that is very similar to DraftKings, what DraftKings is doing, and DraftKings is under like a very strict regulatory regime. So there has to be a give here too. Maybe it's like DraftKings product that shouldn't be like regulated like they are, but I think they also depend a lot on some tax revenues, right? So I think there's like all these different considerations for these types of products. But long story short is I think if you actually could focus on markets outside the US, it's actually quite a massive opportunity.
Is that what you're seeing, FA and Spencer too? Are you more focused on the outside of the US or really global audience and participation?
So on our side, I think, and again, I also don't want to get in trouble with the lawyers, but I think that so much of our side is that we are a platform for people who are building on it, right? We look at what's going on the other side and think about it as like more like a Roblox, right, type of situation where it is permissionless. People are going to build what they're going to build. We can't stop them, I do think that in order for something to be really truly successful, it needs global coverage, and that includes the US. But I think from a chain standpoint, from a platform standpoint, it really, it's more about just being hands off and not necessarily putting our foot down one way or the other in terms of what people build. We're providing the tools.
I would say it's exactly the same for us. We are at the same sort of standpoint as Spencer in this, as we're just a platform. People are free to build what they want to build, but at the same time, I think it's just still tricky. There's lots of new products, and they are possible to build because of the blockchain technology, and some of them are still in a bit of gray area. Some of them are, stepping their toes on some gambling jurisdictions in multiple countries, and at the same time, some financial stuff. And so it's weird. I think it's just it will mature as more emerging products grow. I think Pump.Fun and Polymarket had a huge effect on it, for example. I think because how much they grew, they are having the biggest headaches, but they also have quite good revenue. So I'm sort of happy that they are fighting for it. So it sort of opens the path for whatever products come after. That's how I feel.
How are you and Spencer attracting builders to build gaming, entertainment products on your chains? Assuming all things are equal, same uptime, same quality in terms of how your blockchain is constructed and such. What attracts builders, and are you giving them grants or this, that, or whatever? Like, what's the best approach?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first there. So I will say upfront that I don't think grants are actually the best approach. I think that the industry has learned that in a hard way, unfortunately. Um, in our case, kind of our superpower is the fact that we have the Yuga and the Bored Ape brand behind us, and that still holds a lot of weight, especially as an aspirational brand, especially for new people coming into crypto, who aren't as sort of long-term jaded as some of us get over time, right? And I think that it will continue and always hold that. We already have that built-in community. We have that community of people who get excited about things, who are at the cutting edge, who want to try things. And I think that being able to access that community for builders who are starting to get off the ground is a really powerful thing, because you're not starting from zero. You're not starting from scratch. You're not starting from just your own kind of group. And that's one thing. I do think that for a lot of builders, and a lot of what we think about is how can we reduce overhead. That's especially important for people who are coming into Web3 and are trying to figure out how much is it going to cost to build this thing, and may not even be as familiar with the different tooling options that we have on chain, and think they have to build this or build that to get their stuff to work when they don't. And so, that's a big part of DevRel, is how can we support you in reducing overhead, whether that be through agreements that we have with our infrastructure providers, whether that be through, as opposed to cash grants, credit grants, things along those lines. Those are all really important as well, from just that sort of continuous grind standpoint of supporting people. But I think that just making sure that there aren't blockers for you to build, and that how to plug into our community, and making that as easy and effective as possible are the two biggest things.
I think. Oh yeah, sorry. Please go ahead, Heidi.
No, go. I was going to ask you to go ahead.
Yeah. I fully agree with Spencer. We are pretty much we have pretty much the same perspective. I think how we look at things. I also want to say a few words about grants. I just couldn't agree more. I think if you worked in the industry for a while, then you probably have noticed that grants were just a big mistake. This caused a lot of chains back then to sort of compete with each other, waste money on multiple projects, first of all. But from a developer standpoint, because it was so easy just to switch chains and make money, I think most of the developers just made this their biggest focus, instead of, hey, I'm building something that I'm passionate for, a game, and I should monetize it, and I should be sustainable as a normal company. But hey, it just takes 2 weeks to a month to switch a chain, so I can just talk to XYZ chain and get 100K. So why not? I guess that's what happened on like a lot of different scenarios, by the way. So that's why we also have a similar approach as Spencer's. We don't really do grants unless it's an extremely great opportunity, and they're super talented builders. But we do pretty much the same thing in lines of DevRel, TechRel. We sort of integrate ourselves into the team. We have in-house game developers, economy designers, marketers, and so forth. So even for like performance UA, which is very important, especially in mobile gaming, we have quite a few professionals on board, and we literally like work as the part of their teams. But besides that, in terms of funding, we still do funding. However, we act more like a VC fund. Pretty much, we just invest in certain companies, focused on equity investments, and then we sort of incubate them. We are very hands-on. We just help them to grow. This would also mean, of course, bringing in other investors on board. We are also LPs in sort of multiple high-level funds, especially in gaming, like really good partners. And I'm not even talking about some random dodgy Web3 fund, just proper Web2 funds. So that also helps, I would say, the developers. And then lastly, of course, the tooling that's available around. I think that helps them a lot too. But one last thing would be, again, if we still think of this from a developer's perspective, if I were to build a product today, whatever that is, what I would be looking at. First of all, can I get a grant from this chain? It's obviously it has a huge say in the decision. But if you forget about grants, then the question is, do they have users and do they have volume? Do they have enough volume? That's the question. And we can answer most of those questions, but there are currently chains that have much more volume than Tezos and much more users. So that's also a reality. That's why how we proceed here is we just laser focused on whatever builder that is building on our ecosystem, and we do our best and basically put out everything, the best effort as possible to help them grow. And we don't want to limit them to just being their own thing in the Tails ecosystem. We want them to be a great product that can attract liquidity from other chains and users from other chains as well.
Yeah, and I think it's also so much of it is about continuously identifying and helping to develop new talent that's coming into crypto. I think that that's something where we've been fighting the tides a little bit over the last year, especially as more new talent goes into AI, goes into robotics, things like that. And so being able to make sure that people understand there's a path to support. There's a path to, we have a product team internally, and we brought in people as embedded builders as they're growing, right? And kind of creating that farm system and feeling that kind of love and support and commitment from a chain, I think is really important, as you grow. And I think we're going to see more and more of that, especially as people are kind of burnt out from that sort of grant hopping and things like that. And we need to bring in, new blood.
Makes sense. And how important are corporate and institutional partnerships to you in terms of achieving your end objectives and overall growing this entertainment and gaming with crypto? And are there examples that you can share of partnerships that have been particularly helpful to you?
Yeah, I can just keep talking because I was talking a second ago. Yeah, for us, 100%. I think that on the corporate side, there's a lot of really, really important partnerships there. Clips is one, the artist. Complex, which we did large activations around Ape Fest this year with, is another huge one for us. Those are both really good examples of where we're getting to people who are interested in what's new, who are interested in being on the cutting edge. And have fan bases that they obviously cross over with. I think that those are the things, we want aspirational brands, we want fashion forward brands, we want brands that have fan bases where it's an easy plug-in from that perspective. That's really on the corporate side, and then we want to be able to support all of that. On the institutional side, I won't get into exact details, but so much of that is just folks who believe in kind of the long-term vision of NFTs in the metaverse. And either you do or you don't, right? And then making sure that we have the proper infrastructural support for that.
How difficult is it to change somebody's mind if they don't believe in it from an institutional perspective?
It's hard.
Okay, moving on.
It's hard,
Yeah.
I think it's it's just kind of classic hype cycle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. And I think that there are people who have been around for a long time, right? There are people who really believe in the vision, either on an institutional or an individual level. On an individual level, like Adam Weitzman is a great example of somebody who just has continued to believe in the vision of NFTs and continues to do that. And we want more people like that to be involved, obviously. But it's just it's a long-term hard thing. It's the same thing with the metaverse. I mean, Other Side was announced, and we're on year 5, year 6, right, of getting there, and it's building in public. And I think that people forget how hard it is to build something that's a AAA title ultimately, right? How long it takes the largest people in the space to do that kind of thing. and to do it in a decentralized, distributed, open, permissionless way is even harder. It's just a time thing, right? And I understand, once things are proven out, there will be a lot of people in there, but it's hard to get people, sold on the vision until you have the things to back it up. And I think we're getting there, but it's still a road.
Takes time, still early. Matt, how do you think about corporate partnerships and institutional partnerships?
Depend on them quite a bit, I think. I think especially on the infrastructure level, right? Well, I'll talk about Magic Eden's on-chain business because I think that's the piece that I know, and it couldn't happen without obviously aligning with chains to build on first. I think Bitcoin was one exception where there's no centralized team to talk to, and that experience was actually one of the jankiest ever. Bitcoin is one of the hardest chains to build on, and I understand why nobody really tries to build apps on it because it's hard and it sucks. But once you do, it's funny, you have like a fun mode. But that aside, I think like all the partners that we've worked with in the past, I think it's sort of like you can't not be in the space and have folks all around you and sort of to launch a product. It sort of ends up taking a lot of partnerships synced along the way, and not just like Magic Eden's on-chain business, like any new business that we are entering, because not only do we need to align the infrastructure side to be ready for any sort of like massive spikes in usage, but also I think down to a lot of the white labeled experiences that we aren't building on the product side. I think it just requires a ton of integration, and now having built consumer products over the last like 4 years, there's some know-how there on which partners to work with. So without getting into the specifics, I think it's quite extremely important to make sure that we're pretty open and willing to work with folks. We can't just do everything ourselves. But the things that we can do ourselves, I think we should be very judicious about and be very good at. And that's I think that's sort of like we should sort of pick our battles, right? I think we have this constant like, hey, should we build this or should we partner? Like, should we build our own CRM platform or should we look for someone to help manage our users? And actually, a lot of the times, and like just get out there and go to market faster and just sort of test out, this concept, does this product actually work? We end up choosing partnering with like an existing platform. So yeah, very open, extremely open. It's not like we try to do everything ourselves.
Any different take or similar vibe from you, FA, on the corporate?
Absolutely similar for me. I think it's particularly more important in more, I would say, let's say, serious projects, which we have a lot in Tezos recently, like on RWA. We have Uranium.io as a product, which is super interesting use case. I think especially for projects like that, when you have a trusted name and when big corporations trust you, the story really changes for a lot of different aspects.
Yeah. What do you want institutions and, you can say users more broadly, take away, like in terms of what should they be paying attention to from your respective projects over the next, 3, 6 to rest of 2026? What's like hot on your roadmap and people should be making sure that they follow?
Yeah, I could go first if you guys don't mind. Yeah, so at the end of Q1 timing, I'll say, is when the newest separate brand coming out of the team that created Magic Eden is sort of launching, and that is this new product called Dicey. And I think we're super excited about it because one, it's going to be an entirely separate brand, and two, it's going to be a lot of very, very fun sort of entertainment experiences, a lot of fun speculation experiences, and it's already, I think at least the socials are already live, but you know, the product will be live for everyone at the end of Q1, and that's just something that we've been building for the last like 6 months plus. And I think what folks should just pay attention to on that one, I'll just, you know, put us like I'll make sure that we're sort of just also you know, being that we could also back you know, all the investment and sort of attention that we've been putting towards this product is you should look at the usage stats, and you should look at the volumes, and you should look at all the sort of user focused signals that come out of this product and any of our products. And I think we should be you should just like make sure you're sort of poking at this stuff too, because you also want us to keep to be as honest as possible. And what I mean is just compare that to, you know, our previous products and NFTs, and I think we're sort of at the cusp of really building like what we think are some of the best consumer like entertainment experiences that are out there, and very confident in this new product. And I think all the signals that we have from just testing are super awesome and fun. I think just with 200 users, we've done more volume than the entire NFT industry combined in beta testing, which just shows you like, oh man, there's definitely something here. There's definitely, you know, some really fun, exciting, kind of just extremely I'll say like extremely like addicting product that we'll be launching in the near future. So yeah, very excited for that, and I'll let sort of like the results speak for themselves once the product is live and out.
Very cool. FA or Spencer, what should we be? What do you want people to pay attention to in terms of what's coming up next from you guys?
I guess for us, on the gaming side, again, I told you about how we started to focus more on building forward the existing crypto audience. So we're gonna have quite a few interesting products launching this year, especially in Q1 and Q2. We are just increasing the amounts of people in our ecosystem, builders in our ecosystem who actually want to build in crypto because it makes sense, because they love the audience, because they like it, rather than the other way around, which I think you will, again, just like Matt said, I think the products will speak for themselves. They are very cool. So gaming will be quite expanding in that area a little bit. Meanwhile, still having partnerships with well-known companies. But I think the most important part is this, just having that, I guess, indie game studio soul alive in crypto, but just in a different, nuanced way. Other than that, I think Tezos is particularly exciting for RWA. So I can't share a lot, unfortunately, but I think it will make sense for a lot of people to keep an eye on it, especially, again, the uranium marketplace I've told you about is going to be expanded, but like much more than that, and it's going towards a very interesting direction. So yeah, I think those would be my top twos for now.
Yeah, and I think on our side, I mean, it's always other side, right? And it's what's happening there. You know, we've seen so much adoption of communities coming in, many more avatars coming in over the last few months. The opening of the Nexus, which is sort of the new world within other side. You know, we've been able to partner with Amazon Gaming and seen, you know, like emoticon packs kind of get sold through there, feels, we call them. Seen avatars be sold through there, and being able to connect through Amazon and reach an entire new audience that way. And that partnership is one to certainly watch as that expands, you know, as well as wearables within the other side, which I think give institutions and more sort of buttoned up, you know, partners a way to kind of have something there where they may not have an avatar because they may not have a mascot, for example, right? But that's, you know, super exciting for us. And then the developments around the other side development kit and getting more people in there and building experience and being able to do things with other needs in land and just kind of having that continuously be opened up are probably the most exciting things and most meaningful things that are happening, on 8chain right now.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Matt, F.A. Spencer. Appreciate you sharing your insights, where we're at in this time around entertainment crypto. Sounds like you guys are all building some pretty exciting things that we should be looking forward to seeing Q1, Q2, and the rest of this year. And certainly lots of potential to grow this sector of crypto, and looking forward to seeing what's to come. For sure. So thank you everyone for joining in to today's The TIE Innovator Webinar, and hope you will join us at another one in the near future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.